In this video, we're going to talk about interpreting graphs of linear and nonlinear functions. This problem states, Jimmy will be selling hot dogs at the football game. He bought hot dogs, buns, and condiments for a total of $8 and now wants to calculate how many hot dogs he has to sell to make a profit. He graphs the profit he will make, P, as a function of the number of hot dogs sold, N. Alright, so now we have a number of questions we want to look at here. So, as Jimmy sells more hot dogs, his profits will increase. As we see here, the graph is going up. So if N and the x-axis are the number of hot dogs sold and the y-axis P is profit, as he sells more hot dogs, the profit goes up. So that means we have an increase. And so Jimmy sells the hot dogs for how many dollars each? Well, if we look at any 2 points on the graph from here to here, so say from 8 to 9, it only goes up by 1. Or we could look at it as y2. We need to look at the slope to determine this. So y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so by doing that, we'll have 9 minus 8, or no, apologies. We'll actually have 1 minus 0. So we have 1 minus 0. And this is our y's on top, and x on the bottom here. We'll have 9 minus 8, because they correspond to the 1 and 0. 9 minus 8. And so we end up with 1 minus 0 equals 1, 9 minus 8 equals 1, and that equals 1. And so that's the price at which Jimmy is selling the hot dogs. So we'll have 1 here. And so Jimmy needs to sell how many hot dogs to recover the money he invested? Well, he spent $8 on everything, so that's why down here at 0, he's down $8. But now we need to look at the point where he has recovered his money and broke even or made a profit of 0. So since y is profits, we want to find the point right here that's 0. So we'll follow it here, and it intersects the line at 8. So that means when Jimmy has sold $8, and that's a really ugly 8, but when he has sold 8 hot dogs, he will have recovered all of his money. And so now let's see, if Jimmy sells 15 hot dogs, he will make how many dollars in profits? So we'll look at N, the x-axis here, and go to 15. So right here, we'll follow that up all the way to the line where it intersects. And now we'll follow that all the way to the profit and see that that is 7. So at 7, so if he sells 15 hot dogs, he'll make a profit of $7. And the last question asks, to make $12 in profit, how many hot dogs will Jimmy have to sell? So we look at $12 of profit up here, and we follow that all the way to where it intersects the line, and then we follow that down, and we find that at 20 hot dogs he'll have made a profit of $12. So here he needs to sell 20. And so that's that question. Now we're going to look at a problem that has a nonlinear graph, and it states, David wants to rent a bicycle for a couple of hours to explore the city. The price of the bike rental, P, depends on the time the bike was out, T. The price consists of a base charge of $8 and a variable hourly cost. The graph of the function is shown below. So the hourly charge is per hour for the first 3 hours, so we want to find out what the hourly charge is for the first 3 hours. And so we got to find the point before the slope changes. So we're looking up to 3 hours here and right there before the slope changes. And so again, we need to find the slope in order to find the first hourly charge. And as we discussed earlier, it's y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so here we'll have 3 minus 0, because that'll be the easiest for us to do right now, for the x's. So on the x we'll have 3 minus 0, and for the y, let's follow that up, so 3 is 20 minus 8, and so we get 12 over 3, and that gives us 4. So that means for the first hour we have $4. The rate then drops to per hour until the end of the 6th hour. So again, we're going to find the slope of the graph again, and I'll use a different color. And I'll throw it up here, and I'll actually go ahead and delete all of this. And so we'll look at the 6th hour. So we're going to go from 6 to 3 because that's when the first hour ended. 6 minus 3. And now up here, following 6 to the break gives us 26 minus 3 at 20. And that gives us 6 over 3, which is the equivalent to 2. And so that's the answer for this one. It then becomes $2, and I'll actually write that over here, 2. And then so for the third question, the hourly rate drops further to how many dollars per hour between the 6th and 10th hours. So now let's go ahead and delete all of this. Alright, and so now we're going to look here before the band up onto 10. I'll also do this in a different color. We'll go back to red. So 10 minus 6, because that's where it starts. And then as for the y values, we'll follow this up. So we have 30 minus 26. And so that gives us 4 over 4, which equals 1. And so we have 1 here. And then the maximum price of the bike rental, and that's just looking over here. Now that we have a flat line, so the price is going to stay constant, and so that's the highest point on the graph. We'll follow this over to 30, so we see that the maximum price is going to be 30. And that's how we do that.